President Xi Jinping calls for more efforts to achieve national rejuvenation at the close of the NPC annual session. In the U.S., the emergency measures to shore up confidence in the banking system after the failure of Silicon Valley Bank. Hello and welcome to TVB News. In Beijing, the nearly 9-day-long annual session of the National People's Congress wrapped up today. In his speech delivered at the closing ceremony, President Xi Jinping laid out a list of priorities to achieve the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. They include bolstering the country's military and high-quality development, with a special highlight on the importance of Hong Kong and Macau to the nation's future. Jackie Lin begins our coverage.
At the closing ceremony of the National People's Congress meeting, President Xi Jinping delivered his first speech after confirming an unprecedented third term in office. He began by expressing gratitude towards the reappointment.
It is my third time to take on this great position of a PRC president. The people's trust is my prime force to drive me forward. It's also weighty responsibility on me.
He said the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation has entered an inexorable course of history, and the country should continue promoting a high-quality national development, which is through
To build a modern socialist country in all respects, people hold the key.
another key, modernization of the military.
We should turn the China's military into a great wall of steel.
This, as Xi said, security is the foundation for development and stability is the prerequisite for prosperity, with the prosperity of two places receiving a special mention from Xi.
A strong country building cannot be realized without a long-term prosperity and stability in Hong Kong and Macau.
During the 16-minute speech, Xi dedicated around a minute to highlighting the two SAR's importance to China's development and that the country will continue to support Hong Kong and Macau's governance, economic development, and social well-being. On Taiwan, Xi stresses the importance of promoting peaceful development of prostrate relations, but firmly opposing foreign interference and separatist activities on the island.
We should implement our party's overall policy for resolving the Taiwan question in the new era. We should unswervingly advance the cause of national rejuvenation and reunification.
Xi added China should continue to promote world peace and an open world economy so as to help China create a favorable environment for development. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Premier Li Qiang said the nation is facing a host of challenges on economic development, adding that China must double its efforts to reach its target of 5% GDP growth this year. The premier also insisted that the government's policy on combating the coronavirus was well implemented and that his administration will continue to address the needs of the public. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Marking the end of the first session of the 14th National People's Congress, Premier Li Qiang held his first press conference alongside Vice Premiers Ding Xuexiang, He Lifeng, Zhang Guoqing, and Liu Guozhong.
We will follow the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, rely closely on our people, and faithfully perform the duties entrusted by the Constitution and laws with an enterprising spirit and a strong sense of responsibility. We will press ahead with grit, stay honest and upright, exert our utmost, and live up to our mission.
Among the tasks revealed by the central government in this year's work report was reaching the target gross domestic product growth of 5%. Li believes that while accomplishing such a goal would be difficult, the government will introduce policies to stimulate demand and investment, saying that Chinese people have historically been capable of overcoming challenges and hardships. Amid rumors that the mainland is discouraging private business, the premier said that such talk is inappropriate, and the government is providing more space for those in the private sector to expand. Li further emphasized the need for Sino-American cooperation, and that conflict between the two nations is not beneficial to either side. Regarding the special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau, the premier believes that the economic setbacks facing the two territories are only temporary, and the cities will ultimately prevail with Beijing's assistance.
I'm confident with the strong backing of the motherland and the institutional safeguards of the one country, two systems policy, Hong Kong and Macau will only strengthen their position and role, and Hong Kong and Macau will enjoy an even brighter future. Thank you.
With COVID-19 having plagued the nation for more than 3 years, Li said it was an impressive feat for the government to bring the pandemic under control in less than 2 months in a country with such a high population. He noted that Beijing's policy on handling the coronavirus was correct and largely effective. Having opened up to the outside world for over 4 decades, Li said China sees the opening of its doors as a core policy and will continue to make progress regardless of external factors. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Overseas, U.S. authorities have launched emergency measures to shore up confidence in the American banking system following the failure of Silicon Valley Bank. Daniel Rao tells us more.
The collapse of SVB, the largest bank failure since 2008, sparked concerns over whether small business clients would be able to pay their staff. The U.S. government announced several measures aiming to offset the damage. It said all SVB customers will have access to their deposits starting on Monday. The authorities also said depositors of New York's Signature Bank, which was closed on Sunday by the New York State financial regulator, would be made whole at no loss to the taxpayer. Meanwhile, the U.S. Federal Reserve announced it would make additional funding available through a new bank term funding program. This would offer loans up to 1 year to depository institutions, backed by treasuries and other assets these institutions hold. Still, worries about broader banking risks remain and have cast doubts over whether the Fed will stick with its plan for aggressive interest rate hikes. An analyst explained how the interest rate hikes played their part in the bank's collapse.
When a bank has a situation where they're buying securities, in this case treasury securities and mortgage-backed securities, in order to make money from their deposits that have a short duration and the securities have a long duration, there is risk if the Federal Reserve starts raising interest rates very rapidly. And finally, you have a situation where the startup industry was not borrowing as much, so there's risk on their loans. So you basically had the perfect storm in this situation.
In Britain, where SVB has a subsidiary, the government and Bank of England held talks over the weekend to find a solution that would prevent the local lender from failing. Early Monday morning in London, HSBC announced it was buying Silicon Valley Bank UK for £1. While SVB UK is small, HSBC's balance sheet exceeds $2.9 trillion. That prompted concerns that SVB's failure would cause Britain's startup industry to seize up. Daniel Rowell, TVB News.
U.S. President Joe Biden is meeting the leaders of Australia and Britain in San Diego today. Top of the agenda will be announcing a way forward for Australia to receive nuclear-powered submarines in Canberra's biggest ever defense project. The three countries announced the so-called AUKUS plan in 2021 as part of efforts to counter China's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific region. However, questions remain over strict U.S. curbs on the extensive technology sharing needed for the project and about the length of time it will take to deliver these submarines. Australia is expected to buy up to 5 U.S. Virginia-class nuclear-powered submarines in the 2030s as part of the landmark agreement. The meeting comes with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak having announced that his government will increase military and defense spending significantly.
It's clear that the world has become more volatile, the threats to our security have increased, and that's why we're investing £5 billion more in our world-beating armed forces over the next 2 years and increasing our defence spending to 2.5% of GDP so we can continue to be a world leader when it comes to defence and keep our country safe.
At least 8 people were killed when 2 migrant smuggling boats overturned off the coast of San Diego in California. It is one of the deadliest maritime human smuggling operations off U.S. shores. A Spanish-speaking woman on one of the Panga-style boats called 911 Saturday night to report a boat overturned in the treacherous waters off Black's Beach. The surf was modest, but the rip currents were fierce, and it was dark and foggy. There were 15 people on the overturned vessel and 8 on her boat. Crews pulled the bodies of 8 adults from the water. Authorities say the others may have escaped on land. Iran's top diplomat claimed on Sunday that a prisoner swap was near with the U.S. Washington immediately dismissed his statement. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian has previously made similar comments, but such deals never came to fruition. There are at least 3 American citizens known to be held in Iran on disputed espionage charges. The evidence against them has never been made public. The detainees all have dual U.S.-Iranian citizenship, something Tehran does not recognize. U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price called the Iranian foreign minister's latest comments another especially cruel lie that only adds to the suffering of the detainees' families. Demonstrators opposing Moldova's pro-European government have been blocked from reaching major government buildings in the capital, Chisinau. The rally followed weeks of warnings of impending trouble in the former Soviet Republic, where missiles from Russia's war with Ukraine have repeatedly landed near its border. Police have curbed the movements of several thousand protesters who want President Maya Sandu to step down. Moldova accused Russia last month of plotting to overthrow Sandu, with the U.S. pledging to support her government. Protesters say they are angry at high prices, with officials saying 54 people were detained. Police said an undercover agent had infiltrated the groups and discovered Russian citizens among the protesters. And still ahead, Macau police arrest a Hong Kong man on suspicion of involvement in a murder case. And Chinese university researchers find certain eye drops effective in preventing short-sightedness in children. In other news, Macau authorities have arrested a Hong Kong man on suspicion of involvement in the murder of a Macau resident. The victim was a 46-year-old woman. Her body was found in a hotel room yesterday with multiple unusual injuries to her head. Local police tracked down the suspect within 10 hours after receiving the report near the district of Zona Nova. Officers seized multiple items from the hotel room. Investigations are still ongoing. Authorities will hold a press conference on the case tomorrow. A Chinese university research team found that certain eye drops have the ability to prevent the development of short-sightedness in children. A study carried out by the COHK revealed a 46% reduction in the incidence of short-sightedness in children. That's after they were given eye drops of a low concentration of 0.05% atropine for 2 years. The researchers noted that as the younger generation's reliance on electronic gadgets grows, the problem will only continue to worsen. The team advised that children take steps to prevent the development of eye problems such as short-sightedness as early as possible, as they are not reversible. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. Bye for now.